Hey, so welcome back to the podcast. What if I told you you're going to unpack, listen to, get to know a friend of mine who could talk about gunfights in battle to selling 2,700 homes a year with 240 agents, the number one team down in San Antonio, Texas, Mr. Levi Rodgers. Levi, what's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming down. Or I should say coming up because I'm in Dallas, right? Making the trip. Yeah. So Levi, you and I did a roadmap tour recently, and I felt bad for the person that had to speak after you because you shared the story of your journey of real estate, but you started it by sharing your story of the military. Right. So we're going to talk a lot about real estate today, but I really would love for you to share. Tell us about your life in the military, what you went through before you got into real estate.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I joined the Army, 17 years old, and just young kid out of California, lost, trying to figure out what's next in life, and ended up joining the Army, and I was a heavy equipment operator, and first duty station was Fort Drum, New York, and I didn't like it. It was cold. We were plowing snow. It wasn't the most action-filled type job, and so on a deployment that I was on to Bosnia in 1996, I noticed these guys that were walking around, and they just looked different, and were cool and had long hair and civilian clothes, and asked my squad leader at the time. I said, "Hey, who are those guys?" And he said, "They're Green Berets." I was like, "What's that?" And this is pre-Google, So I went to the career counselor tent and got a little folder, and it said, "Become a Green Beret," and here's the process. And so I did it, and I went out and tried out for the Army Special Forces in 1998, and then that's where I spent the rest of my military career. Was in 7th Special Forces Group. At the time, they were at Fort Bragg. Now they're in Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. And
so how old were you when you joined the military, and then how old were you when you got into Special Forces?
I was 17 when I joined, and then I was 21 when I went over to the Special Forces.
So what kind of person signs up for Special Forces? What kind of person makes it in Special Forces?
Well, I think that not many. We have a saying, so on average, 100 people try out and three will make it all the way through the end. So there's a pretty grueling process. But I think oftentimes people equate that to physicality of the selection process. But what I've seen is the mental portion of it really get a lot of folks. And so it's a very mentally tough lifestyle, to just live constantly on the edge and know that you're going to do dangerous stuff, and your family may see you this week or may not, and
Sure.
It's a pretty wild lifestyle. So you've got the mental game that's going to affect it as well as the physical game, and so I just say somebody that's mentally tough and committed is going to be the type of avatar per se that's going to make it through.
And I know, I know that translated into your real estate business.
Absolutely.
Right. And the people that you attract and how you run your shop. And we're going to get into all that stuff too. This is going to be there's a lot to unpack in this podcast. You shared a story though of your deployment in Iraq when you basically nearly died.
Right.
Share that story.
Yeah, so we were in Afghanistan.
I apologize.
And I was serving. I was a commander of a Special Forces A team, and we were operating in the southwest portion of Afghanistan near the Iranian border. And it was a really cool mission that we were doing. We were working with a village militia, and they had to secure a certain highway that was coming in and out of Iran into Afghanistan. And so we had a particular set of KPIs per se that we had to hit, and,
numbers,
goals. And so while we were operating in and around the area, we had a lot of enemy activity, a lot of conflict, several gunfights and so forth that we had to react to, and so on and so forth. But when we were returning back to our home base, we encountered what's called an IED, an improvised explosive device. And unfortunately, our vehicle struck about a 400-pound bomb. And what happened is everybody in the vehicle, with the exception of myself, was killed. I don't remember personally the event going down. Now through stories of those that do, I certainly can recollect and share the story. But while the gunfire ensued, because typically when you hit a bomb, there's the bad guys are overwatching, right? It's the purpose of why they put an obstacle out there, and so the team's in a gunfight. It's a lot of emotions going on. There's lost their friends, it's a bad situation. One of the team members, Pedro Solis, who works at my office today, he was the guy that got to the vehicle and got me away from the burning vehicle and to the medic. And that played a tremendous part in allowing me to live, and so I didn't, burn to death. And the team continued on in the gunfight, got the area secured. They called in a medical evacuation. Unfortunately, they got us out of there. And immediately I went to a medical, like a field hospital, where they started to, try to save me.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of burns, a lot of orthopedic issues, a lot of internal issues going on. And so, they got me stable, ended up putting me into induced medical coma, just because the burns are a very painful thing.
Yeah. Just give us context. What percentage of your body was burned?
40%. And so fortunately, like my face was 100% burned, but our medics, they did such a great job of putting just like this gel stuff on my face. I mean, they did a great job of keeping me stable and alive. And 40% total body surface area burns. I've got skin grafts on my back and my legs, and I've got one of them where I have my bracelet here.
Yeah.
You can see where my sleeves were rolled back and my gloves were on, where you could see that where the burn was there, and then where my watch was at, you can see the watch outline. And I thought about getting the time and date tattooed.
Tattooed on there.
Exactly. So I was medically evacuated to Germany, and then I was taken to Fort Sam, Houston, Texas. And what's really neat is all this happened within 72 hours. And I see a lot of noise out there that the government doesn't take care of the troops or this or that. But if you compare what happened in my journey to, let's say, somebody was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
In 72 hours from the point of injury, I was in a gunfight in a truck that exploded, where 4 other human beings brutally killed. And 72 hours later, I'm getting the world's best medical care in San Antonio, Texas. Phenomenal. When I sit back and think about what our government is willing to do to help just one person survive, and I'll get on later in our discussion, but I get asked often, Levi, why, how did you do this? How did you build this company and your team, and et cetera, et cetera? I don't have a choice. I got blown up and lived. 4 human beings died under my direction, and I lived. Not going to let that go to waste. It's just not going to happen. And just like today, I have a pretty damn stacked day, and figured it out. Fly to Dallas, fly back to San Antonio, get back to work. And so, so for me, it's there's no choice but to just live the most amazing life that's humanly possible. But got to San Antonio, Texas. Spent about 6 weeks in an induced coma at the burn center. I almost died, and it was because of I developed a condition called ARDS, which is an acute respiratory disorder, which is what was happening in COVID. That's what was killing everybody in COVID. And so I was on a respirator as well during this time. But finally, I came out of it, and they took me down to the step-down unit, and I spent probably about another 6 to 8 weeks in the hospital. And then once I was released, I went on to go do my physical recovery, as well as, just all the mental health stuff that you have to do and should do. I think a lot of our people shy away from it. But, it's so that was about 2 years that I spent there at Fort Sam, Houston, just going to therapy every day, learning to walk, et cetera, et cetera.
What was that like, though? I mean, going back to that time, for my friend that's listening right now, I'm watching you and I'm seeing you tear up. Yeah. Right. This is, thank you for your service.
I appreciate that.
And that almost doesn't feel enough. Do you know what I mean? But like, I love you. So it's just, I'm watching you and I want to like reach across the table and hug you. How hard was it to physically recover? And what did you do to mentally recover? You lost 4 guys under you. So like that, how do you get over that?
I think for me as perspective, at the time too, I mean, if you hit a 400-pound bomb and you live, I mean, you're going to become very, very in touch with, with God. I was extremely involved with church at this time, and 4 of my friends died in the same vehicle I was in, and I lived. And so I just, faith was a big part of my recovery, but then also perspective. The Center for Intrepid down there in San Antonio, it's one of the world's best rehabilitation facilities. So at the time in 2009, 2010, there was a lot of wounded, ill, and injured service members and their families in and around that area. And I'm blessed. I have both arms. I have both legs. I have the ability to process thought and speak. I have, and so who the hell am I to complain about how bad my knees hurt when I'm sitting next to the guy that has no knees? Yeah. And so it wasn't easy. There was nights where I'd go home and I'd take a couple more pain pills than I probably should have. There's nights where I would go home and I'd be the angry veteran, but at the end of the day, the perspective of seeing my fellow comrades and fellow warfighters there, struggling through their injuries, and which mine are certainly bad, but again, like the example I gave, who the hell am I to complain about how bad my knees hurt when I'm sitting next to a man that has no knees? Yeah. And so all of that and being in an environment that the military created right there for us to recover, and knowing full well we've had a lot of support, it was my responsibility, and that's just how I've approached it. Another big part of it is benevolence. I've got a great life now, but, I would not have this opportunity that I've been given without the kindness and generosity of so many people, and oftentimes strangers, like people I didn't even know. The Rea family out of New Jersey, this family, they gave my family and I an apartment to live in when I had no money and just couldn't afford it. Gave us an apartment to live in. And for my whole recovery, 2 years, I stayed in that apartment. Never did they hey, are you almost done? None of that. It's just however much support you need. And it taught me so much. And it all points back to, I just had no choice. I have to do it. This is my new mission in life, is to get better and show the world that my people can do it too, and not let the opportunity of life become a wasted one.
We could end this podcast right now and it's enough, but we got to talk about the transition. So how did you go from there into real estate? What in the world were you thinking?
So transition's tough. And, whether you're transitioning from military service or transitioning out of a divorce into what it's going to be like, or from college to the workforce, transition's tough. And so for me, I had a lot of challenges, economic ones. I was looking for work. I had no idea what I was going to do. I don't have a college degree. Mm-hmm. I entered the Army at 17. I didn't stop to go to college. And so my skill sets that I had militarily, I couldn't physically do, nor was I emotionally in a place to where I can go overseas and be a contractor and, do those things. It just, so now this extremely capable human being that can jump out of an airplane in the middle of the night at 25,000 feet and land in a spot, and now I'm in this foreign land called San Antonio, Texas, and I have to be a civilian and do something that I don't know. It was extremely tough. And, to be quite honest, it was the portion of my journey that was the most difficult. And so, a buddy of mine, he's like, "Hey, Levi, why don't you sell that house you have out in North Carolina?" I'm like, I don't know. Let me call the realtor. Let me see why, And he's like, well, a buddy of mine sold his house and he made some money. Like we're completely oblivious, and
right.
no idea.
2010, 11,
2010, yeah, absolutely, 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, and so my buddy George, he gave me that advice, and so I called the old real estate agent. His name was Gary Langdon. I'll never forget this guy as long as I live.
Yeah.
So I called Gary and I'm like, hey, Gary, it's Levi Rodgers. And and he cut me off. I'm like, what's up? He's like, Levi, how are you doing? Like the guy remembered me.
Yeah.
At least in my mind. I mean, he probably had my name saved or whatever,
Sure.
but he remembered me. And it just emotionally, it felt really cool that he remembered me. And he said, hey, did you do everything that I asked you to do to the house? And I'm like, what do you mean? And all the stuff that I told you about. And I'm like, well, actually, yeah, Gary, I did. And I did more. I even got vinyl siding. I started to get into it. And I was like, well, hey, Gary, I'm thinking about selling a house. You think I can make some money on it? He's like, it's probably worth about $150,000 more than what you paid for it. How much do you owe? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And so we just went through the whole process. Right. And anyways, we sold the house and ended up doing pretty good on it, and walked out with a little over $100,000, and which is more money than I ever thought I would ever run into.
Right.
So paid down all my debt, and I've got a little bit of money left over, and I'm sitting there. I still don't have a job, and I'm getting out of the Army, and I don't really know what to do next. And so I said, this real estate agent, this complete stranger, this guy, Gary. He gave me some advice in the front yard of a house, 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. I got on my friend Google and just how to become a real estate agent, and went to the local board, went to their school, and about 2 months later, I had my real estate license, and just haven't stopped yet, And it's just putting people and families first and doing what Gary did for me to people and families and helping them win. It's just really been the secret sauce.
So it's 2010, 2011. The real estate economy nationally is improving. We still have short sales that we're closing across the country. The San Antonio market, the Texas market certainly wasn't what it is and what has been like the last 7 or 8 years. What were the first couple of years like? Because I want to get to the point, but I want to take our time. Yeah. I want to get to the point where suddenly it's in the middle of the pandemic and you go from having 30 people to 200 people, right? So, but we'll save that.
Okay.
What were the first couple of years like? Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it like, what did you do? How many homes did you sell?
So I was fortunate the real estate broker that took me in. She had brought me in, took care of me, and gave me some good education and opportunities. And I jumped on that ecosystem. I was showing rentals for people in the office there. Mm-hmm. Shortly after I landed my parachute in real estate per se, I got a random cold call from a Zillow rep, and the guy.
I thought I heard this.
What's that?
Yeah, no, I thought I heard this story. So unpack it.
Okay, yeah. And so I got a call from this guy. His name was Kurt, and we're still buddies today. He actually lives in Austin. He's not at Zillow no more, but he called me and he's like, "Hey, I work with Zillow, and I think maybe we can help you out." And I'm like, "Well, what's that?" I didn't know what a lead was. Nothing. Completely oblivious to everything. Yeah. And he signed me up for like a $300 a month spend, and I was sweating it. And what's interesting now is that you can't even get like a connection for $500.
Exactly. How times have changed.
I had like a whole zip code for like $300, and I didn't know what I was really doing. I was answering the phone, trying to help people, but he coached me, taught me, he helped mentor me, and how to answer phones and how to help folks, and taught me how to prospect. And he put a lot of time into helping me. And so, my real estate journey, just like my transition journey out of military service to civilian life, it involved so many others, whether it's an interaction at the copy machine at the office with a random agent, or the broker, or this guy Kurt. So I just started absorbing as much as I could from everybody, and then taking action on it. And I think that I look back now, that's a huge differentiator, is that I wasn't fearful to just go try new things and try to make things happen. I had my military retirement, so I knew I was going to be okay at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so I just took action and tried new things. And eventually, about a year and a half, 2 years into it, I started to need help. And that's where this whole idea of a team came about.
Yeah.
And I went and visited one of the big teams in Remax at the time, Ronnie Matthews. He spent a whole day with me.
Yeah.
And Ronnie just gave me some vision. And I just did it. You know?
You make it sound so simple, and you and I both know, like, it is simple, but it's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
So give us the journey of, so it's got to be 2012, 2013, and you know, big shout out to Ronnie Matthews, right? Like,
yeah, Ronnie, thank you.
Right.
Thank you for your time.
Right, because think about it, he just said, open kimono. This is what it looks like. This is how I did it. This is where these leads are. This is how I hire salespeople. This is how I train them.
Right.
And just like what a blessing it is to have, whether it's a mentor or a friend. It's the word that my dad always said to me over and over again: whoever gets the most exposure to success and then executes. It's exposure and execution, right? The path is in front of everybody. That's why the person listening right now is like, okay, Levi, what'd you do next? How'd you do it? So you got too busy. You ran out of time. Who did you bring on board first?
So what's interesting is that while all this is going through my mind, there was a lady at our office. Her name was Michelle Gamma. It's our very first team member, and she's still with us today, which is cool. And she's, you know, hey, let's start a team. And I'm like, what's that? You know, and how do we do it? Yeah. And concurrently, what happened right around the same time, that guy Kurt that I had mentioned earlier, he called me up and he's like, hey, Levi, there's an opportunity. There's a pilot that Zillow is running. What's a pilot? And he's like, it's the foreclosure program. And I'm like, well, what's that?
Yeah.
He's like, well, it's going to cost like $3,000 a month, and but you'll get the whole city of San Antonio. And I'm like, that's a lot of money, man. And he's like, Levi, do this. And so, all right. The very next morning, my phone just like, boom, boom, like artillery rounds coming in with connections, or, you know, leads.
Yes.
And so this whole idea of the team was happening then, and I had to start it. I couldn't maintain with
It's there was this wonderful old skit from the I Love Lucy show of Lucy and Ethel in the chocolate factory. And I don't know if you've ever seen this, but it's the manager says, when the chocolates come down, put them in the package, set them in the box. And they're like, okay, we can do this kind of easy, you know, one call, one lead, make a sale. And then the manager walks in and says, okay, you guys got it? Okay, speed it up. And all of a sudden, an unlimited number of chocolates. They're eating the leads, they're throwing them in their bra, right? It's this funny example of exactly what you went through. You don't turn the machine off, you add people.
Right.
You serve more customers.
Absolutely.
What was your profile back in the day for hiring people?
Of what?
For hiring salespeople.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have one, or was it like, please join me?
Well, I think that what was happening is a lot of people at the time, you know, Zillow was nowhere near as big as they were or are now, and so everybody knew I was partnered with Zillow at the time, and so you have a lot of curiosity, and so I attracted a lot of people that were like me, and so we had a lot of military folks that were attracted to join our the team at the time. And it wasn't really what it is today, but and that's evolved now. You know, so there's a lot of military veterans that were joining us initially, but not only. I mean, Michelle, very first teammate, is not a military veteran, but she does a damn good job helping them. But you know, so I think something is also going in my mind too at the time is that in the Army they're very, very strict with a couple of things, and one of them in terms of management is span of control.
Yes.
Span of control shouldn't exceed 3 to 5 people, at least militarily. Maybe in the business world it's a little different, but you know, when you're in a gunfight, it's hard to control, you know, more than 5 people. You know, it's loud, it's chaotic, and so when the chocolate factory started dropping chocolate bars on me, I had to get more people, and it just kind of happened naturally. And so, and I learned really quickly a great way to get people in real estate is to, you know, hey, I've got leads. So,
I got people that want to buy houses.
Right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So what was the growth like? So you take on the $3,000 a month, which, you know, today would be $30,000 or $40,000 a month if you could even have access to it.
Right.
But back then, 3,000 was a lot of money.
Yep.
What was the growth like? Where were you transactions, pre that? And then what happened in the next couple of years? How much did you guys grow?
I think the most I did individually was about 100 transactions by myself. And I was, me and an assistant. And so what happened as we started to grow the team, we realized that, and at this time too, teams weren't, I wouldn't say like a new thing, but it was starting to gain surgence again. And so brokerages were having a hard time figuring out, hey, how do we manage all these teams? And so naturally what happened is the economics that I had to create to make my team profitable didn't align with what was going on with the brokerage. And so, I ended up buying a RE/MAX franchise, and I didn't have a broker's license, just, hey, I'm going to buy a RE/MAX franchise.
No one told you needed one of those.
Well, no, we just hired a broker. We started the RE/MAX franchise. RE/MAX Military City was the name, and went through that, and it was just my team. We moved there, got a little lease space, and I think at the height of it all, right before we left RE/MAX, I think we were at like 20 to 25 agents on the team, that was our journey to that point.
So when did you go independent? When did you start LRG?
So we went independent, right around 2020, the reason for that was, and this isn't a gig on any other companies out there, but we had to move at the pace with our strongest partner at the time, and still is to this day, Zillow, they're moving fast. This was right before Zillow Offers. Yep. I knew that was coming, and they had a lot of things that they were trying to do and wanted to do that may not have aligned well with the big brands business. Yeah. And so for us, it was the right decision to leave the
economics on the Zillow offer side for real estate teams or brokers was this big. It gave you a tremendous amount of transactions and volume, but I know the numbers.
Right.
So being inside of that traditional model, and I don't know knock because Nick, if you're watching, I love you, CEO of RE/MAX. It just didn't make sense. Right. So we saw, just like we saw during the flight of the REO days, which you weren't a part of in the 7, 8, 9, 10. If you were a Hispanic woman and you started your own brokerage and you could take over this zip code, they would give you every REO you wanted.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like there was just, it was beautiful what was happening, giving so many people opportunities to go build up these monster businesses, right? Nice. Like it was awesome, but it was hard. It was hard for brokers. It was hard for new team leaders transitioning. Kind of transitioning seems to be the word of the day here.
Well, I think real estate, it's constant state of transition, right? And I think one of the things that's helped us out a lot is trying to stay ahead of change. And, when, people will adapt and change, and I don't want to get changed, I want to be control of the change. And so trying to stay ahead of that has also been a good thing for us.
So you get that account. It's 2020. 2020 was a transition year. Right? Had a little thing called COVID.
Yep.
And in the middle of all that, what was the growth like?
So it was crazy. So COVID smacked Earth, and we were still probably 30-ish type people. It was chaos. Nobody knew what we were going to do, and so we decided we're gonna do what everybody's not doing. We're not gonna run for the shore. We're gonna go out into the ocean, and we're gonna grow. Yeah. So we just started letting the world know that, hey, our team wants you type thing, kind of like the Uncle Sam, like I want you. And we shored up our onboarding process, our training process. Looked at restructuring the organization. We added mentors because that span of control thing's always in my mind. Yep. And so we added mentors that are there to basically train, advise, assist the agents in their journey, because I was tapped out on time. Mm-hmm. I'm maintaining the Zillow account and doing all kinds of things to grow the business. And so we got the mentors going, we got our onboarding process going, and then we started letting the world know, hey, we want you, and we'll train you, and we'll give you business. And once we started doing that, our value propositions that we had at our brokerage it worked well. And we went from 30 to over 200 inside 2 years.
And that was back, you went from like 500 transactions to a couple thousand transactions. And now, last year, as everybody knows, last year, the second half of the year wasn't as great as the first half. And still to finish at, 2,600, 2,700 transactions, it's a big business. Unpack for the listener, what's a team leader and what do they do?
What's the what?
What's your team leader and what do they do?
My team leader?
Yeah, what do they do?
No,
your 8 team leaders.
Oh, okay, my mentors. Okay,
mentors,
all right.
sorry.
No, I didn't know that was a trick question.
No, my bad. My bad.
You're in charge of your business. So they're responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen of those that are in their charge. And so it's a very simple job description. Train, coach, teach, mentor, answer questions. Of course, we help out, but they're all involved in the onboarding process. So each of them have let's say, we'll just say Joe has this 2 classes that he's excelled in, and Jane has these 2 classes that she's excelled in. And so they task organize it, amongst themselves. And so it's a 5-day onboarding process that happens. And so the mentors, they handle onboarding, they handle just all the questions and so forth. And one thing that's been a unique aspect to the success of our organization is that we have this raise your hand culture. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to have a problem type thing. And so that helps as well to stay ahead of problems. But they're responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen with those agents. And it's pretty cutthroat, to be quite honest with you.
So someone might be listening to this and thinking that sounds like a sales manager or an office manager. Are you guys multiple offices, a single office? Like, are they all inside one location? How does that work?
So, there's no individual office at the office for these folks. It's basically an open cafe type, grab your laptop and, put it on a desk type thing. But there's certainly private meeting rooms where they can go coach the agents and stuff on a team. But we have one physical location that's in San Antonio, Texas. We have a small team of 10 folks in Austin. And then we have a small team of 5 folks in Killeen, Texas. There's no physical location at those places. There may be in the future. And we just need to make sure we have the personnel and the business where it makes sense. But the headquarters in San Antonio, that's where all the mentors are at currently. Every day you'll see 1 or 2 of them in there meeting with agents. Maybe they're teaching a class or something of that nature. But again, they're responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen. They are at that. We have a meeting every Thursday we have with all the mentors, and we go over all the appointments, the leads, et cetera, agent by agent, appointment by appointment every week. And, it's kind of brutal.
We just talked about this on our mastermind, right? So for the person listening, we just literally got off a mastermind with about 20 other people like Levi that are just these world-class operators. And we were talking about the leaky bucket, right? The leaky funnel where maybe you can relate to this as you're listening, that we looked at this cohort of 90 days of leads and a very exceptional team, right? Not yours, another exceptional team, essentially converted 91 transactions out of 4,416 leads in a 1-year period. Of that 4,400 leads, another 418 people bought a house from someone else. And this caused the team leader to say, I need to now have a monthly, she said monthly and you went weekly, monthly meeting where we review every salesperson, every lead, every opportunity. Because if you're hearing me, they're getting 1 sale, but they're losing 4. Now, we should do the same sort of Amazon Turk thing through Greg and all those guys on your database just to see. Because so unpack for us, if there's a team leader listening right now or a broker leading, or listen, a single agent who does open houses and gets referrals and maybe gets some online leads, we all know the deal. We get one good one. We're like, okay, this is the one. I'm going to take, this one's going to get all my attention, and all these other opportunities start falling apart. So walk us through the process. You got 245 agents. You got 8 mentors. you're going through a lot of leads and a lot of appointments in 2.5 hours.
Right. Yeah.
What does that look like?
So, well, and it's fairness too. Is not all the 245 people are taking leads or connections that week or that month, and so we manage off the percentages. And so there may be somebody that on vacation or something, and so it's a really neat setup. But that meeting per se, what's happening is we're going off the connections that were delivered in the last 7 days. Additionally, we're going off of 30 days, and then we're looking at 90 and 180. We make decisions on the team, off the team, et cetera, based off the 180-day conversion. In fairness to the agents, because there may be just get
There's a bad circumstance, something out of their control.
And so we make hard decisions on the 6-month metric, but we try to.
What do you mean hard decision?
Like you're not going to be part of this lead program, or you're doing well in Zillow Flex, but you're not doing well in let's say Op City, or or whatever it is. And so maybe it's best to pull you out of this program and put you in another, or maybe you owe the company two deals from this, and then we'll turn you back on, and so it just depends. And it's involved with the mentor and myself, and then the director of buyer agent operations. We all kind of figure out what the best direction is, because every agent and every situation is completely different. And so we just take that approach. But we're getting granular. We're looking at appointment rate, met with rate, showing rate, offer rate, and conversion rates. And the reason for the weekly meeting is to stay ahead, so we can identify problems ahead of waiting that 180 days for, oh wow, Sally's conversion rate after we just gave Sally 40 connections is below where it needs to be. And so we work closely with our partners that help deliver some of these connections to us, and identifying what where the agent's at along their journey, and what their appointment rate is, how much are they answering the phone, how often are they calling out, our CRM lets us know how many texts they're making, how many calls they're making, et cetera. So all of that goes down in this meeting, and we look at also too, just for opportunities for individual training and collective training.
Yes. Every single week.
Every week.
8 mentors and you and the head of sort of buyer agency.
Right. Absolutely.
Going through appointment by appointment, salesperson by salesperson.
Absolutely.
There's not many people in the country I can think of that are that rigorous.
That are that what?
That are that rigorous.
Yeah.
That are just, you know what I mean? Like maniacal. Like, is that I just want to make a fortune? Is that I want to serve the customer? Is it just because of what happened to you? You just, because of your military training? How does somebody get that?
Well, I think too, though, is that, the 8 mentors and my leadership team, they fit that culture. They're on board with that.
Yeah.
And so it's not just me.
Yeah.
I mean, these folks are doing a phenomenal job in taking what may be a hard conversation and translating that into an easier conversation with the agent and getting a result out of it. And so, so I just wanted, it's a lot them as well. But I think that for me, obviously the customer 100% is our North Star. However, not letting down those agents that have an agent comes to me and says, "Hey, Levi, I want to sell houses for a living, and I want to make a lot of money and do this, and go buy fancy cars," or whatever their goals are. I'm also going to look in the mirror and say, "Hey, okay, well, how can I help you do that?" And if they're committed and they're showing up to work and they're putting in the work, well, I'm also going to take ownership of that as well. And so, really identifying how to help that agent get where it is that they want to go. And for some people, they're happy selling one house a quarter. That's good for them. And then, but others, they need to sell 3 houses a month. And so, so we look at all that, and shoot, I forgot the rest of the question.
No, that's it. No, I mean, you answered it. So I'm asking, like, why? Why? And it sounds like it's the customer, and it's also your dedication to helping your agent. Yeah. Right? If they're on your team, it's leadership, right? We have an obligation to help them get what they want.
Well, I think the other thing too is that, along with that, you mentioned the word obligation, is that, I can't let one person or let's say a group of people, either their performance, whether it be due to training or choice, depending on whatever is driving that performance, to ruin a relationship with, we'll just say Zillow. Like, I'm not going to let that get compromised. I'm not going to let the entire team suffer because of one or two people or five people or 10. It's just not going to happen. And that's my responsibility as the leader of this organization, is to make sure that I keep our business partners happy as well. So.
Hey, so let's tease the audience. You're writing a book.
I am, and
talk about that.
Well, I don't know. I like the whole book thing. It wasn't something that I set out to do, but then so many people are saying, "Hey, Levi, you should write a book." Right. And so I was like, "All right, I got on Google, how do you write a book?" And so I got linked up with a pretty cool company to help me write the book. And I have a book coming out. So it'll probably be another 6 months or so, because the book, we got to add another chapter because I'm having a baby.
I know.
And
so you may have heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up.
So that's what's holding the book up, is I need to add a chapter, because I just can't have my daughter not included in a book. And 100%. So nonetheless, the book's titled 30 Seconds. And the reason why we went with that title is because my life, and you guys just got an hour of it today, but just continued like short opportunities, short interactions, and and how we met.
Right.
Very short interaction, and it happened, and you took action. And so the book is titled 30 Seconds, to demonstrate just all these short interactions that have had not only positive, profound impact in my life, but also some things that happened that probably could have gone a different way. And so, but it's really exciting. It's got a lot of deep stories in there, and we're excited to get it out.
Man, I can't wait. We have to come back and do another podcast once that book is out. Maybe we'll do like a little event or something. Not a little event. We'll do a big event.
All right.
Well, let's transition to the last question. You told me a story recently about where you live today. Where you live today.
Oh, yeah.
And how you look down the valley to a certain apartment building.
So, what's interesting is very blessed. Life's treated me way better than I thought it ever would, so I've got a pretty juicy house. And, I want to take it back. I was sitting in a hunting stand with my son, Owen, and he showed me this house on Zillow. He was looking. And so kids are involved in house choices. Don't underestimate that. So way out of the price point that I was considering. I was not considering what I bought. And he's like, "Hey, Dad, this is 5 acres in the city of San Antonio." And I'm like, "Nah, the mapping's off. I know the mapping's off. Zillow's wrong." Right? And I started looking at it, and I'm like, "Holy smokes!" So immediately, like, we're all nasty. We drive down.
You're out hunting.
Yeah, we were hunting. Yeah, and then so because this is like a unicorn house that doesn't exist, and so we scheduled an appointment to go see it, and we get back, and as I'm driving up the hill, I looked over, and the apartment, I mentioned the Rhea family earlier. And like, before I got to that house, I knew I was going to buy it, because hopefully the old seller's not listening to this, but the opportunity that I have every day to drive by the apartment, the home that was given to me to live in when I couldn't afford one, driving up the hill to live in my ridiculous house that I have on top of this mountain, it is just has a profound effect on me. And I get to do it twice a day, every single day. On the way to the airport, when I came here this morning, I just look over and I look at it. And for me, it helps keep me not only grounded, but it also just keeps me motivated and keeps me going. And, we're extremely benevolent as an organization as well. I just know that my journey wouldn't be it. It wouldn't have happened the way it did without the kindness and generosity of others. And so I just felt that God, just keeps showing up in my life. And so, I knew right when we went over there, I knew that I was buying that house. And so I bought it.
Congrats. I thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah,
I love when you told me the first time. I was like, I want that on the podcast.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, somebody wanted to email you and ask you a question, or just say thank you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
We can put the info here in the podcast. I got a complicated email address, but I'm on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. I think our handle's like at Levi Rodgers LRG. But my name's Levi, so it's not too hard to find. You can just get on Google and hit us up on our website or what have you.
Rodgers with a D, Rodgers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know you'll answer those questions, and I have a feeling you're going to get flooded with a bunch of people just saying thank you for your service, and also just thank you for sharing your story. Yeah. So as we wrap today, if there was just something you could say to every real estate agent around the world, right, for the person listening right now, what's your closing thoughts for them as we look to the future of real estate? We look to the future of their business. What would you say to them?
Well, I think your destiny is in your hands. It's the actions you take or don't take that will drive your future. I don't have a master's degree in real estate. I don't have like this crazy background where I was exposed to real estate my entire life. But the systems, the processes, steps you have to take are out there, and there's so many different examples of different types of people that are doing it their way. And don't be afraid of failing, and just take action. And just recently, just yesterday, I haven't shared this with you, and so one of our agents was out showing a house, and they were teaching one of their mentees how to do a final walkthrough at a new home. And while they're doing it, they're recording it, and I'll show you the video after we're done. They're recording it, how to do a final walkthrough, and all of a sudden they hear noise. They hear somebody screaming for help. And it's like, help, or whatever. And so the guy, the mentor, Jason, at the time, they start running over there to see how they can help. And it turns out one of the workers in the neighborhood, cut with a circular saw damn near his whole leg off, and is really bad. And he's bleeding out. And my agent, Jason, happens to be a 20-year military veteran Army nurse. So just jumps in there, is getting bloody, sticking his thumb on arteries and just doing all the thing. And so I called a friend of mine that, is a news anchor in San Antonio. And I said, one of the things that I think that our society needs to hear more of is about people that don't live in fear. They take action. They're not worried about the outcome. And I've got this guy, Jason, that heard a screaming noise, ran over there, and just immediately went to work. And so I think that, every time you have an opportunity to put some work in, do it. Stop being afraid. Just do it. And you got one shot at life, and just take action. And so I think that would be my message. The scripts, the dialogues, the processes, the systems, all that's out there. It's like the folks that they go to the gym. The hardest part is going to the gym. It's not when you're at the gym. It's just getting from your bed to the gym. Action. So, I don't know. It's just taking action. Yeah.
I love it, man. Yeah. I appreciate you so much, man.
No, thank you. I appreciate you as well.
This is super cool. So, hey, for my friend listening, you probably have 3 people you should share this with. I would send it to them today and maybe let them know how much you appreciate them. And then listening to this could really help them as well. So thank you, man. Thank you again for everything you do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
We're out.